Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Tilly, and in today's video I'm going to talk about what my first 24 hours post rhinoplasty looked like. So yeah, this can change depending on where you go, what hospital and who your doctor is, but this was just my experience, so it can give you a little bit of insight of what to expect if you get a nose job done in Turkey. And if you've liked today's video, please don't forget to like, I'd really appreciate it. I'm new on YouTube, clearly. Okay, so the day before my nose job, I actually had all my tests done. So I just went to the doctor's office for my consultation. And this was when he asked me about any medication I take, my history, if I've had any surgeries before, about what I want my nose to look like. And this is where he gave me some morphs. He just photoshopped my nose to show me what he can achieve. And we kind of discussed together what I'd like to get. And this is where you get to speak up and say if you want any specific. I wanted my tip to be quite lifted. And to be separate, so like, I don't know if you can see, but like, can you see like it kind of goes whoop, it goes up here at the tip, and that's what I wanted. So yeah, that's why you get to speak up. And when we went to the hospital to get all my tests done, I had blood work, I had x-rays, and I also had a heart echography just to make sure that everything was in order. And I also filled in a form for the anaesthesiologist. I actually didn't get to meet the anaesthetic doctor, which, to be honest with you, I'm not very happy about, but you know, at least there was a very in-depth form that I filled in. And I had to fill this form out in A&E, which was quite distressing. When we went in to fill this out, there was a family that was clearly going through a crisis. It seemed like someone had been in an awful accident and the family members had just been told. So that was quite distressing for me and my partner, who we showed up at the hospital with. So yeah, that was not good. So the tests were complete. We went back to the hotel and then we went to sleep because we'd actually just landed that morning and we were very tired because we'd only had like an hour or two of sleep. So we went back to the hotel and got some more shut eye before having dinner and then going back to bed again and waking up the next morning. So the next morning, we woke up at about 4:20 and then just got dressed, got the hospital bag and got straight in a taxi at around about 4:30. The taxi ride to the hospital was about an hour, so we got there for about 5:30. Got very early, we had to stand outside for a good while because the hospital wasn't even open at that point. And then when the hospital opened at about 6, we signed in. This is just where I filled out all my information with the hospital, if I knew my blood type, if my ID, they had to take my passport and photocopy it, and then they printed out my hospital ID badge, and then we went up to the room. So once we got up to the room around about 6, the doctor, we just kind of sat in the room and chilled and just talked really. We didn't have much to do because the surgeon came round about 6:30 in the morning to come in and check in on us. And to be honest with you, he mainly spoke with my partner about just things to expect for when I wake up, because he was like, she's going to be useless. Like, she's not going to remember this. I actually did remember it, in fairness, but I didn't remember to do it. Obviously, I was too out of my mind on drugs. So yeah. So he mainly just reminded my partner that I can't drink any water now or after surgery, and that I'll be quite cold when I wake up and just I won't be myself. So it was just to prepare him for that. And as well to remind him to just keep icing me. No matter what I say, just keep icing her as much as you can. And then the doctor left and said, I'll see you down there in a bit. The nurses will bring you down when I'm ready. And I was like, okay. The nurses came in and they brought me my hospital gown. And this is where I had to get completely undressed. That you have to take everything off, underwear included. Some people think this is quite strange, but it is just for hygiene purposes as well as safety. Because obviously he's operating on your face, you shouldn't have, you shouldn't be looking in your pants or anything. But if for whatever reason, something went wrong, they don't want to have to be worried about cutting clothes off, to get to, the source of the problem. And as well, it's also for hygiene purposes. The less clothes you have on, the cleaner you are. So, yeah. I also had to wear compression socks, which are just really, really tight socks that you wear like up just above your knees. And this is just to avoid any blood clots. So once that was all done and my hair was already braided, but I made sure to tie it back into another bun. And I put a hairnet on as well, again, just to avoid any contamination of the surgical environment. And then a nurse came in and put a cannula in me, which is just like a really long needle that stays in your hand. This is just so they can access your bloodstream without having to like prick you again, just because obviously when you're in surgery, they need to be able to give you, fluids and stuff. So they made sure to put a cannula in me to keep me as comfortable as possible. And then at around 7 a.m. I was wheeled down for surgery. This bit was I was very nervous at this point because it was like, okay, it's happening. This is it. So they wheeled me down, everyone was really nice and all the nurses were very smiley, and we couldn't like really talk because they didn't speak any English. And at this point I didn't have my translator with me anymore. So I was quite nervous, and I was just laying down in the bed looking up at all the lights like flashing through me in the hallways. So I was getting nervous. And once wheeled into the surgical room, I remember vaguely seeing my surgeon, and then I remember like the nurses like fussing around me and doing stuff with my cannula. I just thought they were like making sure that it was in properly, but apparently they were injecting me because I couldn't look at it. It freaked me out, the needle. Like in my skin, I didn't want to look, so I didn't look at them fussing about, but I'm presuming this is the point where they drugged me because I don't remember anything after this point. And then I remember waking up. I woke up at around about 3 p.m, I'm told. So I was under for quite a long time, from 7 to 3. I don't know if I was knocked out at 7. I just know that I don't remember anything from that point. So I'm presuming they knocked me out after doing some prep, but obviously I just don't remember what happened because I was drugged out of my mind. So I woke up at around about 3 o'clock. I just remember thinking that the surgery hadn't happened because to me it just felt like I'd blinked, and then I woke up again. So I kept asking over and over, did it go well? Is everything okay? Why didn't he operate on me? And my boyfriend was like, shut up. Like, yes, he did. You look amazing. Like, chill out. I remember reaching up and trying to touch my eyes because I had a lot of like, I'm just like Vaseline or something in it, like goop to keep your eyes shut while they're operating. So I remember trying to, like, people being scared that I was reaching up to touch my nose, but I was actually reaching up to touch my eyes to wipe off the goo. And then I kept saying, eventually I was able to vocalize eyes, and they were like, oh, okay, she wants to open her eyes, and she can't because she's still got all this stuff in it. So they helped me like wipe my eyes because my motor skills at this point hadn't returned. So I obviously was like trying to get to my eye while like doing that. So I was in a right state. And once I kind of woke up a little bit more, probably about half an hour later, so about 3:30 in the afternoon, I just remember being freezing cold and really anxious as well as like distressed because I didn't know. I kept asking over and over, did the surgery happen? Did it go well? Why didn't he operate? And my boyfriend, and I couldn't see anything because I had ice, like ice bags. I'll insert a picture of me looking mental, on my eyes. So I couldn't see. I knew why I couldn't see. I remember at this point, it's like, okay, the surgery did happen because my eyes are shut. But then I'd get confused and keep asking, you know, did everything go well? So I had to lay back, like a little bit back. It was kind of mostly sitting up with ice on my eyes. I couldn't see a thing. My boyfriend kept petting my arm, like just rubbing his hand up and down my arm to be like, everything's okay. It went well. You look amazing. You did so good. And I was freezing cold. I was so cold. I couldn't stop shivering. So my boyfriend wrapped me up in a duvet and then put his hoodie on top of me as well. He put the heating up all the way up, but I was just freezing. And this was an after effect of the anaesthetic. So there was really nothing to do other than wait it out. And the next thing that made me really uncomfortable was the fact that I was so thirsty, but I wasn't allowed to drink yet in case it came back up. Again, an effect of the anaesthetic. So my boyfriend like Googled it and he was like, okay, it's not in every country and it's not every doctor that says you can't drink after surgery. So to be cautious, he just kept giving me like tiny little capfuls of water that I couldn't even swallow because it would honestly just get sucked up by my gums and tongue. Like they was dry, like to the touch, like my tongue wasn't wet, it was bone dry. So he kept giving me like tiny little capfuls just to wet my mouth to make me a little bit more comfortable. So he kept giving me tiny little capsules of water, and that's kind of how I spent the first hour, was just begging him for another capful of water. It was honestly awful. And then at around about 4:30 in the afternoon, I felt a little bit more awake at this point. I felt a bit better. I sat up in bed, like the bed thing, you know, lifted up so I could sit up a bit. I took the ice off my eyes just to, you know, have a bit of a human conversation and interaction, feeling much better, much more awake. I'd stopped shaking. I was a lot less cold. And I got changed into my pyjamas at this point, and I was given the okay to have a drink, like an actual drink at this point. So I had a nice ice glass of water as well as some pineapple juice. And honestly, that pineapple juice was the best thing I've ever tasted in my life. Like it was amazing. So I felt a bit more myself once I'd done that. And then once I changed into my pyjamas, I got back into bed. My boyfriend applied fresh ice and I kind of like was just dozing in and out of sleep, like kind of being awake, but not really. And then around about 7:30, I was allowed to have dinner. So again, finally got to take the ice off because it was just really boring. Like I couldn't see anything and you couldn't do anything. Like I was just listening to my boyfriend watch the football. Like there was a Scotland game on it or something. So I was just vaguely remember being aware of my surroundings, but mostly just being asleep. So at 7:30, finally get to sit up and like be awake and have something to eat. And I just had like chicken broth and some cheese. It wasn't like anything ridiculous. And I remember my boyfriend being like, I got you some biscuits because the hospital food is lackluster. So he got me some biscuits from the cafeteria. And they were, again, the best thing I've ever had in my life. And then I just sat up and chilled for about half an hour without the ice on because I was getting really bored. So I just went on my phone for a little bit, talked to my boyfriend, called my mum. And yeah, that was kind of it. Then at around about 8 o'clock in the evening, I went to sleep with fresh ice all set on my face, so I was good to go. But I was woken up every 3 hours or so by the nurses who were just checking on my blood pressure and that everything was okay. And then at around about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, my blood pressure spiked, which made my like alarm go off on my like monitor thing. And my boyfriend shot up like lightning, ran over and was like, everything's okay, just breathe, calm down. When I was fine, I just like had a weird dream that like I was falling and went and then went back to sleep again. So I'm presuming that's what made the blood pressure machine spike. But I was absolutely fine. The nurses didn't even come in. It wasn't enough of a spike to like set off their alarms. It just made our monitor go oop, like one beep. It wasn't even multiple beeps. So yeah, he just came over to check on me because he was absolutely petrified. And then while he was up, he made sure to put more ice on me. He'd apparently done that a few times throughout the night. I just don't remember it. And then I went back to sleep around about 4:30, 5. I don't really know. Come 6 o'clock in the morning, we were both pretty awake. At this point, I took the ice off again for a little while because my swelling was doing really well. I wasn't that swollen, like in my eyes. Obviously, my nose and face was very swollen, but my eyes didn't swell shut or anything like that. And I really do think it's because we were so meticulous with icing. So from 6 o'clock in the morning to about 7, I was just chatting with my boyfriend, playing on my phone, watching some TV, nothing really, too exciting. At around about 7 o'clock in the morning, breakfast was brought in. It was like not a breakfast that I would have. I'm kind of like a Nutella on toast kind of gal. And it was like goat's cheese, like goat's yogurt, cheesy yogurt. It was really weird. And then cheese and some meats and some like olives. And that was my breakfast. So I had more biscuits. And then at around about 9 o'clock in the morning, we were given the all good that we could go home. So I made sure to get dressed. I just put joggers on, nothing too fancy. And then we went and got a taxi and we just went home. I remember in the taxi ride home, I was quite anxious about being jostled about. And I'd heard in like my WhatsApp group chat, like from a girl that had had surgery a few days before me, that she was actually in a car accident, like on the way back to her hotel. So that gave me like major anxiety, but everything went fine. I actually fell asleep in the taxi for a good 45 minutes. So I was clearly still very tired and my body was recuperating. Then once we got back to the hotel, we both just settled in and we didn't sleep because we knew that like we had the whole day ahead and we didn't want to completely mess with our internal body clocks. So we tried to stay awake and honestly we just watched Netflix for the rest of that day and ordered room service. As well as we kept icing, that was really important. So I honestly probably spent a good 60 to 70% of my day just with ice on my face to really make sure to keep the swelling down. And then these are some things that I wasn't aware of at the time, either because I was put to sleep for my surgery or because I was just absolutely out of my mind on drugs. But this is kind of like how my boyfriend's day went, like parallel to mine. So he kind of just chilled while I went under. He went down to the hospital cafeteria, had something to eat, walked about at the hospital as well as like the surrounding areas just to see if there was anything going on. He watched football. The nurses were really nice and they gave him like hospital dinners and lunches. So that was nice of them. When I came into the room and I was freezing and he put his hoodie on me and stuff and he put the heating on, once he put the heating up, no one could figure out how to get the heating off because once I felt better, I was too warm because it was boiling. It was swelteringly hot in that room. Like it wasn't cold. It was just me and my anesthetic reaction. So for the rest of the night, he had to prop the window open with his shoe, which honestly, I'm so surprised it didn't fall out the window. Like once he showed me a picture of the shoe in the window, like it was just, yeah, that shoe should have fell out the window. It was ridiculous, but it didn't, so, thankfully. So he still had his shoes for the rest of the holiday. And then again, something that I didn't remember, but the nurses came in and checked on me every 3 or 4 hours. And they'd come in like every 3 or 4 hours to check on me. They turned every single light on and then left, but didn't turn any of them off. So he had to get up every single 3 to 4 hours to turn all the lights off and then go back to the world's most uncomfortable bed that he didn't fit in. He's like 6'2" and his head was hanging off and his feet were hanging off. He was really uncomfortable. So he didn't sleep much that night. I slept pretty okay. And then again, something that I don't remember, but the doctor did come to see me after surgery once I'd woken up. And he explained that everything went well, it all looks fantastic, didn't have to use any ear cartilage like he thought we would. So we were quite happy with that. And he just told me, like, he just reminded him to ice and to make sure to not take any of my medication until the following day once I'd left the hospital. Yeah, I don't remember much of that at all, any of it, in fact. So it was him that told me all this after I'd woken up a good few days later. Right, guys, that's it for today's video. So that's what to expect from the first, 24 hours post-op. If you've got any questions at all, please do leave them in the comments. I hope I can answer them for you. And if you're interested in any more rhinoplasty or nose job info or experiences, please do subscribe, because I am making a whole series on my entire experience from my rhinoplasty in Turkey. Please don't forget to follow me on TikTok and Instagram. And I hope you've enjoyed this video, guys. Bye!